Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Soccer Show. We are here to discuss Saturday, December 21st, three-game Premier League slate on DraftKings.com. My name is Jack Burkart. You can find me on Twitter at Jack Burkart, joined as usual by Ryan Belongia and our friend Chris. He's riding the stationary bike, getting all his reps in. So, Ryan, pressure's on to supply some entertainment for one of our longtime subscribers and friends of the program. Oh, Ryan, did you play any of these midweek slates? How did things go for you?
Oh, yeah, actually. We got a King of the Pitch ticket yesterday, thanks to my Fraser Forster captain. What a hero that guy is. Yeah, I got lucky there. Solanke, thanks to Solanke, couple goals. I mean, Mo got the ticket the day before that in the Arsenal game. So, couple RotoWire King of the Pitch tickets this week. That's nice. Nice little three-game slate this week. I think it's kind of interesting not to have the big teams on it. I don't think it's there's some decisions. It's not like the most straightforward slate. What do you think?
I think it's a little bit of a do you know ball type of slate, because when I was going through it and making my first draft of projections, I was like, man, it's tough to get everyone's role correctly on this one. So, Ryan, I'll let you break that down. I'll talk about the matchups. The biggest favorite is Newcastle on the road to Ipswich Town. Ipswich Town, Ryan, a team that, just from what I see and what do I know, they play kind of well at home. Like, it's not an easy matchup whatsoever. But Newcastle are still clearly favored, and that's correct, and have about a 1.9 implied goal total. The line makes sense to me, Ryan. So Newcastle's in the best spot, but it's not a complete smash. It's not a slam dunk spot. And then we have two essential pick'em matches. I mean, I'm not going to call Brentford or Brighton favorites in their matchups, but Brentford is home to Nottingham Forest, 40% implied win probability, and Brighton is on the road to West Ham. They are slight favorites. So those two matchups, Ryan, I'm treating as coin tosses. When I was looking at players, though, it's a little bit tricky. Newcastle's set piece situation has been a bit stochastic lately. It's been a bit random. I still think Gordon and Hall are going to split, but Tonali could take corners. Isak has randomly taken corners, not crosses, but it's notable that the set piece situation there is a little bit strange. I mean, Nottingham Forest formation is going to be a little bit confusing. Will Lucas Paqueta take in-swinging left-footed corners again, or will Somerville take corners? Ryan, what were your impressions of the slate when you opened it up? I find it tough to nail everyone's role exactly.
Yeah, me too. I agreed with your breakdown of the games. I think the lines are correct. Ipswich are a little better at home, but Newcastle's still in the best spot. With set pieces, though, yeah, you might have Tonali taking some. I think it makes Gordon just not necessarily a lock. Still, you're going to consider him for cash games. But, yeah, Tonali took some midweek, too. Tonali scored midweek. And then, yeah, with the other matchups, I think we might have Emerson back for West Ham. We'll have to see about the lineup, that probably would make things easier. You figure him for half the sets. If not, yeah, you really don't know. Could be Somerville, Paqueta, Bowen, really any of them. I think Emerson will probably start, but I don't know. Soufal played okay. We'll have to see. And then, yeah, the other matchups, Brentford at home. Everybody always talks about it now. They've just been so much better at home. The record disparity is like crazy. I saw some stat the other day, but yeah, pick a matchup against Forest. No real like locks on either side, I would say, from DFS, and kind of the same thing for West Ham, Brighton, excluding maybe defenders. So it's kind of a wide open slate, and like how much ball do you know slate.
Yeah, the board is going to be wide open. Ryan, just looking at things, I do think Emerson back would make things a bit more straightforward, but Emerson would take left-footed set pieces, right? who's on the right-footed set pieces? Is it going to be Paqueta taking in-swingers, or will Somerville take over? That makes a huge difference, especially at Somerville's price. So we'll talk about that storyline. Brighton's set pieces are going to be a bit easier. Ipswich, Leif Davis no longer a monopolist. We're not going to prioritize them. Ryan, I think one key talking point as well, and again, we'll talk about all these things more, Elliott Anderson being listed as a defensive midfielder, and then we have Nicholas Dominguez, who's being listed projecting to start as the attacking right midfielder. This seemed really strange to me, Ryan, but I looked into it, and Dominguez is not really an attacking player, so he was sort of, I don't know, who's that player on Real Madrid, Fede Valverde, how he kind of played this like more defensive type of forward role, and then Elliott Anderson still had some freedom taking most of the set pieces. Nailing that situation is going to be important. We don't want to take 70 minutes of Elliott Anderson in a defensive role whatsoever, so I think forced formation is also going to be quite important overall.
Yeah, me too. I would say that he played 90 minutes the last two games, Elliott Anderson.
Yeah.
And yeah, Dominguez isn't an attacker. Now, he could play more forward than Anderson. I didn't check the heat maps. But like Anderson's still going to get in attacking positions. He's still like, he's always going to be a box to box player. And like these two teams on a neutral field, like Forest is probably a little bit better. So I still think it's a pretty good spot for Anderson.
I do too, and maybe the formation should have been listed as a 4-3-3. Now we're really splitting hairs, but it would make sense when Yates was a little bit more further, and then you had Anderson and Dominguez sort of splitting which side of the field they're on. Based on the heat maps, that makes sense. But I agree overall. We can quibble about the formations. Elliott Anderson will be someone who is an important talking point because he's 7,800 now. But Ryan, let's first talk about forwards. I do think that even with some uncertainty and some minutes risk, that Anthony Gordon is the best play at 9,600, and you're going to want to spend up once at the forward position. But it's a discussion. It's just, do you really want to pay 9,400 for Joao Pedro? All right, he's got penalties, but his shot floor has been a bit lower. He should be up to his usual 90 minutes, though. It's something that you can consider, especially against West Ham. That's something of a soft matchup. And then the other player that you can consider is Jared Bowen, who's just played terrific this year at 9,000, but not someone we can rely on for set pieces. I mean, again, Paqueta was taking left-footed set pieces. I'm practicing my Belongianomics with my footedness. It just seems like Bowen is not a priority on set pieces. So if we're going to be a bit concerned about Gordon's sets, well, all things equal, their open play floors are also similar. So I feel like Gordon is going to be the spend-up option, but how do you see those three?
Yeah, I think you broke it down perfect. Gordon is probably the cash option, but like not quite a lock. But it's just because Bowen without set pieces for 9K, you can't really call him like a great cash option. I mean, you know, he plays 90 minutes and he's going to have goal assist upside, so it's not a bad play, but 9K is expensive. So probably more for tournaments. I mean, you know, if you see him start without Emerson and Paqueta, then you might get half the corners. Then he probably becomes the cash game play over Gordon if you thought he was going to get some sets. But I don't know. Yeah, seems unlikelier these days. But yeah, Gordon's just in the best spot too, and probably, well, I don't know, might split the sets. So I think you go Gordon for cash games. I think in tournaments like Isak, I think Isak is a really good tournament play. Just I think the ownership disparity between him and Gordon won't be correct. And then yeah, Pedro probably more for tournaments. Good matchup, but on the road, like, are you sure about 90 minutes? I don't know. Maybe if Welbeck doesn't make the bench, he becomes a little bit better play. But yeah, it's like you don't feel great about Gordon, but he's probably better than the other options.
Yeah, that's what I agree. I mean, you look at Gordon and you start to nitpick, but these nitpicks apply to all of the other expensive options. So I think Gordon will be the popular spend down option. Ryan, what names do you like when you're looking down ballot at, you know, guys priced around 6,000? Callum Hudson-Odoi looked okay. Somerville looks interesting, especially if he has set pieces. And I know you like Jorginho Rudder. So how do you view the less expensive forwards?
Definitely the guys you mentioned. Somerville with some sets would be interesting. I mean, you probably only plays 70 minutes, but he's cheap, and I like Somerville just as a player in general. He's due for a good game. He's due for a goal. So yeah, add some set pieces on that. I think that's okay. Hutchinson for 5,900 seems okay. Might get a set piece or two. He takes direct free kicks sometimes. I think they're missing they're missing Delap and maybe Smodix too. Oh no, he's back. But anyways, it's not a bad price for Hutchinson. Yeah, Hudson-Odoi, he seemed okay too. I think it's a decent spot for Forest. Those were the three I was looking at. Going all the way down, like you can play Lewis Potter for 3,800 as a right back. Doesn't seem great. I think Ipswich is going to start this Ali Al-Hamidi at center forward instead of Liam Delap. Seems like a pretty decent option for tournaments. I mean, he scored a lot of goals in the championship last season. For 3,800, I don't know. You could do worse.
Yeah, he's a tough player to get a projection on, Ryan, because I have a limited sample on his starting minutes at the EFL level. He's had some time in the 3rd and 4th division as well. But a young player who, has been reasonably productive in some sub appearances. I think at 4,000, you're just clicking a name and it could go off for you. It's fine.
You think of him as Jamie Vardy.
Well, now I don't like him if I think of him as Jamie Vardy.
Yeah, that might have been a bad comparison.
Now I'm going to have zero of this guy.
Think of him as I don't know, Danny Ings.
Yeah, I think that's fine. When it's 4,000 and he's probably the only playable cheap forward, that just makes it interesting from a lineup construction point of view, depending on what you want to do with the other positions. So yeah, as a tournament play, I think it's fine. I just don't think you'll need to go there in cash games personally.
Yeah, same. I really like Georgina Ruder as a player. But yeah, I might get to him here. His price is down. He hurt my feelings a lot in that Leicester game. Thought he was going to score. I played him, touted him getting over 2.5 shots, and he didn't even take one shot. So yeah, it was hurtful, but decent matchup for Brighton. I kind of prefer the other guys though. I don't know. I've become a sucker for West Ham lately.
Yeah, West Ham have been delivering some good attacking performances recently. So yeah, I like Somerville even if he doesn't take sets, Ryan. I think you're kind of free rolling right-footed set pieces, and just about everyone else that you're looking at, other than Callum Hudson-Odoi is a minutes risk, and Hudson-Odoi is a fine play, but absolutely not a must. Oh man, Chris is talking about Jamie Vardy in the chat. 6 goals, 3 assists. I hate it. I'm a hater, and I always will be.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, he's right. It's pretty impressive from a guy like Vardy. Just the numbers. The numbers are pretty impressive for 37-year-old Jamie Vardy, whose number one attribute was basically just pace and a work rate. He's always been the least skilled of all the center forwards. So to shout out, props to Jamie Vardy.
I mean, he's objectively good, right? I'm sick of 38-year-old Jamie Vardy breaking slates in DFS, but he's been good since Leicester won the league. He's probably one of the best Premier League center forwards ever. I mean, I know it's a long list. It's just you look at what he's accomplished on a per game rate and compare it to guys like Harry Kane, and it's not that dissimilar, especially all the way from Vardy's been on a worse team.
Yep, all the way from non-league football too.
Yeah,
all the way up. So yeah.
Nonetheless, Jamie Vardy, I hate you, and I hope you stop losing me money in DFS. The one thing I'll say about Rudder is I think all the downside has finally been priced in. He was a bit more expensive on previous slates. And I know he's hurt your feelings, Ryan, but this guy was $12,000 on some of these championship slates that no one played last year. So he's got some type of attacking pedigree in him. And, West Ham are pretty good, but they're a bit leaky still. I mean, they give up some floor.
Yep.
Let's move on to midfield, and there's a lot of options at midfield, Ryan. I really do want to play Elliott Anderson at 7,800. I think he's a really good play. He's been taking corners on both sides recently, and his minutes have been quite good. So he's someone who I captained on Showdown recently, and he crushed for me. So I think he's going to be an option, but at 7,800, he's pretty expensive. Like, he's priced as a player who needs goal and assist upside. And if you're just relying on set pieces and something in the lineup changes, it's not so great. So I'll be curious your thoughts there. But there's a lot of viable plays on West Ham. Lucas Paqueta is interesting, but I feel like you do need set pieces, which I don't feel so certain about with Lucas Paqueta. And then who else did I have? Yasin Ayari has been someone who's been taking set pieces. Sandro Tonali is a little bit cheap at 4,100 if you want to jam some more expensive plays. I think it's really tough to nail down which midfielders we're going to play. Oh, Mikkel Damsgaard, I think he's only 6,800. He is a shot of splitting set pieces. A lot of decent options. Maybe outside of Anderson, no one's screaming off the page, and maybe Anderson shouldn't even be screaming off the page. So what do you think about midfield?
You didn't even mention your boy Mbomo, huh? Mbuemo.
He's been too expensive lately, but I've forsaken him after.
He dropped down in price a little now. Home matchup now. Jensen out. 90 minutes, pens. Only 2K more than Elliott Anderson. Mbuemo doesn't look too bad to me here. I wouldn't mind people getting up to Mbuemo. Not a must though at that price tag, but I don't know. Good home matchup. Set pieces. Not bad. Anderson, yeah, I think that's okay too though. Like, you don't like to see 7,800, but he's worth that if he plays 90 minutes again. And he has been. I think it's not a bad matchup for Forest either. I think Forest are just a better team than Brentford. On the road, it probably evens it out, pick 'em spot. But yeah, I like Elliott Anderson. Paqueta, yeah, if Emerson didn't start, I think you could for sure play Paqueta just because he has pens too. His penalty against Bournemouth cost me another king of the pitch ticket. That was tilting, but still, yeah, I think you could play him because of pens. But I think Tonali's probably lock. Just going down like 4,100 is too cheap. I was trying to check out the midweek game. I thought they might rest him midweek, but he's just been really good. Yeah, they played Brentford in the cup. He had a brace in the cup, Jack.
5 shots.
Yeah, 5 shots. I don't think he took sets, but he's taken sets in the past, and maybe you get a corner or two from him. But, with Newcastle being in the best spot too, I think Tonali is like the first guy in, actually. I don't know. Midfield's weird here because, you don't feel great about anyone, but kind of makes me, I don't know, more okay with just putting Tonali in.
Yeah, it's a tough situation to project since Tonali spent up until a couple of weeks ago, his floor was pretty bad in open play. And now all of a sudden his floor is really good in open play. So the machine is going to be slow to react to that type of news. But I also just don't want to be wrong. So it makes sense just to click him in. And Ryan, if you're going to be playing Tonali, then you definitely will have room for Mbuemo. So I can see where the construction might work out that way. Stuff that seems to be projecting well is like Anderson and 2 $6,000 guys, which I think is also a fine way to approach things. I disagree, though. It's weird. I think what you say is really good, but I could imagine having 3 completely different midfielders than other good players in cash in this slate and just be like, yeah, that seems about right.
Yeah, absolutely. No, yeah, absolutely. I think I just side with Tonali because it's against Ipswich, highest total and cheapest price. So
helps you get up to 2 good defenders as well. So I can see how that would really help the construction overall. Anyone look good as a tournament play, Ryan? I mean, we haven't mentioned guys like Kudus or Mitoma who could be quite good. Kevin Schad, in his hat trick recently. I feel like you can go pretty deep with tournament names as well. I mean, Morgan Gibbs-White has been playing better and is a little cheap. Who do you like in GPPs?
Damsgaard and Kevin Schad, I was going to mention. what are they, both in the mid 6Ks? Shad looked really good, like when he scored that hat trick. Those were some nice goals. He scored a nice goal off the bench too against Newcastle. Not going to get ownership. Yeah, I think those guys are okay. And then if he starts, yeah, Joe Willock, Jack.
Willockina.
Yeah. Same price basically as Tonali. Maybe he can get a goal or assist from the 4K range. Not much floor, but like it's a good matchup against Ipswich. Joe Linton's out, so might open something up.
Yeah, that's a good shout. I didn't actually know how expensive Willock is. He's in the 4Ks now. He was a little expensive in recent. All right, 4,400. I think we can play even if it's 65 minutes of
plus 400 to score.
That's not bad.
Not bad.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. Maybe he gets more minutes as well. I'll have to look more into that. But he's been a player who gets subbed at 60, so makes him a little bit frustrating for me.
There may be a path for him just to play the Joe Linton role.
Yeah.
Also, though, they could just bring in Longstaff or something like that. But yeah,
bring in an attacking player if it's not going great. I don't know. It's tough, but in GPPs, I think
it's a
Willock
tournament play,
does the right thing. Yeah.
Maybe.
Exactly.
What about the other guy? Your boy Nicholas Dominguez is 3,300. 2 shots against Villa, 1 on goal. Maybe a more attacking role. And he's like 3,300. I remember a few games last year when he had a nice little run. We thought he might be a pretty decent player. 3,300. I don't know. It's not that bad.
No, not that bad at all. It's probably not a tournament play, Ryan, but one player I want to talk about more. One of the machine's favorites, Yassine Ayari. He's a good young player. Should be on a split roll of set pieces. In my article, which should be on the site, I'm basically calling him like Diet Elliott Anderson. I use the player comparison tool because we have that on RotoWire, and he's just a little bit worse than Elliott Anderson in open play. But, in a split set piece role, he's 2,500 cheaper, Ryan. So a player who I think could end up with an assist in this spot. I'll probably be playing plenty of him because my projections like it. But decent option, especially if you're a little short. And I think you can play him in cash.
Yeah, I like him too. Like him as a player. I agree with everything you said. I worry a little bit that O'Reilly's back in the squad. About
70 minutes is likely.
Worry about the minutes, but he could get there in 70 minutes. So
yeah, worth looking at the bench for sure. Let's move on to defender. Ryan, 2 defenders that are on an absolute heater in their last 5 starts. So the DFS trends tool, Purvis Estupiñán is averaging like a 10.5 floor in his recent appearances. Last 5, and Lewis Hall has been even better. Someone who's finally delivering from open play. So he might not be Leaf Davis light anymore, Ryan. He just might be Leaf Davis heavy. The Budweiser to Leaf Davis's Bud Light. Leaf Davis is also available, but he's 5,200 and Hall is only 800 more, and it's a much worse matchup. And Sammy Smodics did take corners last time Leaf Davis played. So this is a pro Leaf Davis program, but I think it might be over for Leaf Davis as a lock in these formats. Ryan, what do you think about the expensive defenders?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Hall seems like the best play. Better matchup, better team, and then Estupiñán, he's been playing well. Probably take a few sets with assuming O'Reilly doesn't start. And then, unfortunately, Leaf Davis it's not the same as it was with Leaf Davis. Losing set pieces, not like as attacking from open play. Like, I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, he's like, I don't know. He's just a little bit like milk toast now, for whatever reason. So I prefer these other guys. Well, I think you got to have one of them for sure. One of Hall or Estupiñán is going to score double digits. I'll try to get both. It would be nice to have 2 of these guys. You might get Emerson though for 4,500 if you want a little discount. We've seen him have some good games in the past. It's not a bad matchup. Yeah, he would probably split sets. We saw him score a free kick recently. So those are guys I'm looking at.
Yeah, those are good options. Chris says play Estupiñán, lose money. Fade Estupiñán, lose money. That's been the story of my season. You look at heat maps, and sometimes when I'm watching Brighton play, it appears like Estupiñán in some phases is behaving like a left-sided center back, just his positioning on the pitch. And that's really bad. Like, then he definitely needs set pieces to get there. And he has been getting there for fantasy. But even in this match against Crystal Palace, where he had 10 floor points, a lot of the game I saw him kind of playing as a left-sided center back. And I know that Brighton's manager sometimes was a back three type of manager. So it's interesting to see that hybrid. Not something that I can tell you if it's going to happen or not. And again, if you fade, he's going to lose. You're going to lose money.
Yeah,
it's just tricky. There's some fragility there, I think.
Definitely fragility. That's happened quite a bit. Yeah, he looks like he's playing as a third center back. I agree with Chris. Estupiñán's one of those players. I swear I jam him this season. He scores 2 points. You fade him, he goes off. You might be able to predict it. Like, I think, when Lamptey starts, Estupiñán would be more likely to sit back than when Veltman starts, for example. Yeah. But there might be other stuff too. It's a pretty good matchup though. And if you think he's like without O'Reilly there, feel comfortable with him at least having sets.
Yeah, I think so. I think you can project him to take the left-footed set pieces, and he's going to be good for 90. He takes some direct free kicks. Like, there are game scripts where he feels just like shooting all the time. So a player I don't feel quite comfortable fading, but yeah, a little bit gross. One thing about Leif Davis, Ryan, open play floor is bad. Like, it's like 5 points in my stuff, and he really needs set pieces to get there. He just isn't like marauding forward. It seems like Ipswich is using their wingers more, and like you'll see Leif Davis in possession areas. He's sitting very far back, so just not a player who's involved enough in the attacking phase from what I've seen. Ryan, 2 cheap names that I like. Ben Johnson's only 3,100, so on the other side, I think you can play Ben Johnson as a punt. And then our boy, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, he's been a little bit more attacking for West Ham. What do you think of those cheap options?
Yeah, I didn't realize Wan-Bissaka was so cheap. He scored a couple goals recently even. Oh, yeah, back-to-back games. But, yeah, gets forward, like has a license to get forwards sometimes. Really good signing for them. Yeah, that's okay for 3,400. Who was the other guy you said?
Ben Johnson, only 3,100. Don't really have a huge sample on him, but he's had some 7-point floors in earlier appearances. And Newcastle's a tough matchup, but it's okay. I think he's someone you can click.
Yeah, that's not bad. Yep. Just too cheap, I guess, for a fullback at home. Not the worst spot for Ipswich. Newcastle have been better lately, but you were trying to target them for a little bit. They were giving up floor points.
Yeah, I was. So it didn't really work out in the Leicester match, but Leicester just might be terrible. I don't think they had won a note in that game. But West Ham were able to get a lot of floor points against Newcastle. So it's not a matchup that you have to be afraid. Like, Ryan, wait, I was about to target the different matchup. Wait, why am I confused? We're talking about Ipswich. Yeah, Omari Hutchinson. It's like you can use some of their forwards against Newcastle. It's not prohibitive. Brian, I'm obligated to point out that Lewis Dunk and John Paul Van Heck are 2,800. Could you imagine yourself playing a center back? It seems a little bad, but at least those two guys have something of a floor.
Yeah. In certain scenarios, I don't know. You say like O'Reilly starts, maybe Estupiñán becomes a great fade. And then, you change your construction around by playing a 2,800 guy.
Yeah, it could work. Maybe even as a utility if that's the only thing that you need. But with enough good fullbacks, I don't want to make that essential part. I agree. You probably want to play. Actually, I'm just going to say you definitely want to play at least one of Estupiñán and Lewis Hall. Let's get into goalkeeper. I am fine spending down on this slate, Ryan, because the matchups are pretty close. Like, I don't think that Muric is a $3,900 keeper in this spot in most slates because the opposition only has an implied win probability of 55%. I guess the game has heavy draw odds. It's not like Ipswich are huge, have a great win odds. But even then, like goalies and pick'ems, Fabianski is 4,500 and Sells is 4,400. Seems pretty fine to target underdogs, but on a shorter slate, maybe you want to get to Dubravka. So what do you think about goalkeeper?
Yeah, I like Fabianski and Sells. Feel like those are pick'em matchups, and they're both 4,500. Or what Sells is 4,400. I would try to get to them from Murich. I just don't see. Yeah, like you can even see the odds. Like the clean sheet and win odds are considerably less for Ipswich. I was gonna say no to Dubravka. I still probably will. It's one of those things where I'm not trying to pay 5,800 for the Newcastle keeper on the road, but I think Ipswich might be worse here. Like just worse in terms with Al-Hamidi instead of Delap. That's definitely a fall off. So Dubravka, he's fine too. It's a 3-game slate. Like maybe only one of these keepers puts up like 16 or whatever.
Delap's been a pretty good player for Ipswich.
Yeah, and he just he can cause, even if he's not scoring, he can cause havoc. Like he's so big and strong and fast and tough to deal with. And
I don't know City Academy player.
Yeah, he's really good he's really good physical attributes. And I don't know how this Al-Hamidi is, but yeah, I could see Ipswich struggling on offense here. And they're going to need our boy Omari to take over.
I think Omari's been a good tournament play for a while, Ryan, and he hasn't quite delivered, but the process, he will eventually get there.
I agree. I think so too. I think he's looked good. He's come close to scoring. He's got a nice shot on him. It's going to happen soon.
Yeah. No better time to target him than on a 3-game slate, to be honest, where there's going to be a little bit less opportunity cost. You'll probably be spending once in that range. Anyways, tough to jam the two expensive forwards. Ryan, let's talk tournaments a little bit. So Matt is in the chat asking us about our favorite game to stack, if there is one. It seems like you might be able to stack Newcastle, Ryan, just looking at it with all the cheap players. But were you thinking about piling onto one matchup here? Seems like an okay strategy.
Yeah, maybe. And I think it would be because, not like a full game stack, but I like a mini stack in the West Ham Brighton game because of the ownership, specifically with Kudus, number one. We haven't even mentioned him yet. I think the best player on the slate, not going to get owned because of, minutes, no sets, West Ham underdogs. It's unfortunate that Lopetegui subs him, but I still, there's still a chance for 90 minutes and he has 20 plus point upside. And then on the Brighton side, none of their players are really going to get owned. A Yari maybe, but none of the goal scorers. A Stupinian maybe. So yeah, just real easy, skinny stack there. I'm going to play some Kudus, throw some Brighton in there. Could do it with any of the West Ham players, though. Bowen might not get that much ownership. Paqueta's there. Somerville we like. So yeah, I would say that game. You could do the Newcastle. You could do the Newcastle one though too, because Ipswich too. Like all you need is one Ipswich guy, either Hutchinson or Al-Hamidi's 3,800. I mean, you could even play Smodics. Smodics isn't a bad play actually. Set pieces, and he loves to rip shots. 4,700. I didn't see that. I should actually. Yeah, that's a really good price for Smodics. He'll be in my my GPP pool for sure. I think that game seems okay too.
Especially if he takes a couple corner crosses. I mean, that just helps. That's a few free points, like our pass catching running backs in fantasy football. I actually want to highlight, if you want to build a little back and forth, the Brentford Nottingham Forest matchup. Brentford have been involved in a lot of ridiculous games on the home recently. And okay, this is a little bit of, how do I say? It's a little bit of vibes, which I try not to operate on too much. But Brentford had a 4-2 game at home against Newcastle, 4-1 against Leicester, 3-2 against Bournemouth, and then 4-3 against Ipswich, and 5-3 against Wolves. So, Brentford have been better at home, Ryan, but their defense still hasn't been entirely convincing, allowing multiple goals in several of those. And Brentford also themselves offering goals. I think it's a spot where it just might be good to target Forest players. I don't think they're going to be particularly popular targets. Not all of them are really good values, but if you want to play your Brandon Mbeumo, then you can play a few Forest pieces on the other side. That's one where I think, there could be maybe you only need 5 goals in that matchup. It's a 3-game slate, so it doesn't have to go completely out of hand. What do you think about that?
I'd only need 3 goals in it. Yeah, I think great argument. You can any of these games, you can make an argument for stacking. Especially the fewer games on a slate. The more appealing stacks become. Usually 2. You can get 2 of these games to bust, even 1. You're on the right one, then yeah. And nice way to play Mbeumo. Hudson-Odoi we like. Elliott Anderson even. No one's going to play Yohan Wissa. But Brentford have some other guys too. So yeah, I think there's merit to all these games. It's a fun slate. You don't feel like you're doing anything too crazy. You don't feel like you're lighting money on fire necessarily with any of these fades or plays or whatever.
Yeah, there's not really slam dunk floors in this spot. Elliott Anderson has a good floor with set pieces, but set pieces can fail. And
this isn't me early. This isn't me coming on here to fade Holland home against Leicester City.
He's too expensive.
Yeah, or something like that. It's a fun slate for tournaments.
Yeah, I think you can do anything. So when there's less floors, it also incentivizes the game stacking approach and just hoping that you have the game with the goals, because the goals are going to represent more of a total of the available points in the pool. Wow, good breakdown by us, Ryan. And only 40 minutes. I guess it was only 3 games. I didn't expect it to go that quickly, though. But I don't know. Any final words? It's a bit of a play whoever you want. But I think we covered most of the angles.
Yeah. No final words, I don't think. Excited for this slate. We got the Boxing Day slate coming up. That'll be fun. I know you got 150 entries for that.
So I actually kept entering satellites, and I have leftover tickets. So I get to do the honor of I get to ask DK support what to do about all these leftover $5 tickets. So I'm rich. No, talking to DK support, look, I love you, DraftKings, but sometimes when I talk to support, it takes a few tries for them to understand me, and I'll take responsibility for it. Maybe it's my fault, but I'm not looking forward to it, Ryan.
Sorry, I wouldn't be either. I heard some recent nightmares there from a couple of my friends, but I just seen Matthew on FanDuel talk about balance, how much Arsenal. I guess Arsenal are on the slate too. I was just looking up. I forgot who they even played. Wanted to give him a quick.
Let's help Matthew out. The FanDuel.
I know I was trying, but I can't. How what a bad fan. I don't. Arsenal at Palace. I mean, it's not a smash spot for Arsenal. You wouldn't be surprised if I like Palace. I like Palace's manager. I like Palace at home. They've been playing better recently. If you wanted to, you could Arsenal still don't have a left back. You could fade everyone but Saka if you wanted to, Matthew. You could play some Arsenal too, because they've been playing better recently. The Odegaard back in there, but it's not an Arsenal spot. You might want to have Saka. No Eze helps Arsenal.
Might not be so bad,
but not just in general. I don't think Palace away is the greatest spot, but still, Arsenal. You're not gonna be surprised when they score goals. But I remember earlier in the season, we got so frustrated with them. I said they should never have an implied total above 2. With Odegaard back, I retract that statement, but still, you're never shocked when Arsenal struggle from open play and just take a bunch of corners.
Yeah. just looking at this, like Saka 23 on FanDuel, that's like a quarter of your salary. Like he's a really good play, but it's so goal centric that if he doesn't get the goal necessarily, he might not pay off that price tag, especially because I'm sure the other forwards are going to be cheaper. Like I bet Isak is going to be cheaper on FanDuel. Yeah, Isak and Gordon are cheaper, so you don't even have to play Saka in GPPs. Urian Timber being a $10 defender might be okay though. That's something worth looking into, just in case he's got some goal upside to him. But he's the fullbacks on FanDuel have like no floor because they're not like blocking shots or getting clearances or anything like that. So is Chris Wood 14? No way, he's not. Oh, Kevin Schad 14? Might have to play on FanDuel, Ryan.
Jack's the FanDuel guy. I forgot. So yeah, that's right though. I think Jack, like you don't need Saka if he's the most expensive there. FanDuel more goal dependent. Yeah, currently on Henderson, and that's it. That seems fine.
Yeah, cheapest goalkeeper probably. So I think our friend Mo likes to play the cheapest or most expensive on FanDuel. So Matthew, your hashtag sharp. Go ahead and fade Saka, and I hope he doesn't score 2 goals on you. To everyone else playing on DraftKings, hope this was helpful. Good luck. Best way to support the program is to become a subscriber, rotowire.com/soccertrial. You get to use all our awesome tools that we've been scrolling through. You get to join the Discord, rotowire.com/chat, see whatever the heck we're talking about that day. It has been more soccer focused lately, which is good. Sometimes, we get into politics or whatever. It depends if our friend Bear is around. But thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you, Matt, Chris, and Matt for chatting with us during the show, making it more interactive. We will see you hopefully for Boxing Day. I think we have to sort that scheduling out, but maybe we can get something out on the 23rd where we're shooting from the hip with lineups.
I think we'll be able to.
Chris says 18 miles, 600 calories, ready for
Bud Heavy. Love it, Chris. Love it, Chris. Well done. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too. All right, everybody. We'll call it a wrap. Thank you, everyone, and good luck.
Good luck, everybody.